nieces and nephews. It's me, Aunt T. It's been a long time, I know. A lot has happened. Yes, a lot has happened. I had plans to do quite a few videos, but I came up with some obstacles in life, and well, that's life, right? So anyway, I'm here. I'm going to talk today about a movie that I loved back in 1979. I know that's a long time ago. And it's called Being There. And we're going to get into why I'm talking about a movie from 1979. And so here's to being there, or as I say, being here. Just call me Chance. Yes, 47 years ago. Ooh, 1979. Now, this movie, you can watch it if you have Prime. You can order that movie. It's only at $4.99, I think, if you have a Prime membership, and it's worth the watch. And it's a satiric comedy, and it has Peter Sellers as the star in it, Shirley MacLaine, a few other actors in it. And it's in a setting done in Washington. And it's about a man named Chance. And this man named Chance, it's quite interesting because that's kind of about his whole life, has been like a chance. And the reason why I'm kind of bringing this movie so much, is that about a year ago, you might remember a video that I did about how I was channeling different things in my meditation, and it got me to look at different books and to go a different route and look at things. And I was looking at the art of war, the art of focus, the art of harmony, and there was something else that was brought up in my meditation at that time, and I didn't reveal that because at the time I didn't know how everyone would feel, especially myself. I kind of felt a little embarrassed about it, but I asked Spirit, or I asked my higher self, who am I really, and why am I doing all this? And the movie came to me that it told me to watch that movie, Being There. And I kind of thought to myself, am I Chance in this life? Am I just like him? And so when you watch this movie, you start to think, well, this guy is he's not very intelligent. He just, walks around like, he kind of reminds me of that cartoon, Mr. Magoo. And everywhere he goes, it just seems like something could happen, but he just breezes through because his life is a chance, or his life is like lucky that way. And so in some ways, I kind of think I'm sort of that way, where people can't figure me out. And they want to analyze and criticize and pick me all apart. And I come up with things just all of a sudden and say different things and make different statements, and it kind of dumbfounds everybody, and everyone's wondering, what am I doing, and why is she doing that? That's totally wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. And I open the doors to things, basically. And so I kind of see how Spirit was sort of nudging me into looking at that movie and going, okay, this is really you. You're just really here to get everyone going. And so when you watch that movie, it's very interesting how Chance becomes actually Chauncey Gardner, because everyone assumes everything about him. So he goes through this whole movie, this whole setting in this movie, and it starts off the house where he's living. He's living with a billionaire older man and his servants and everything, and you think he is the gardener, but as it turns out that his life, he became under the care of this, I think his name was Mr. Jennings in the beginning of the movie, and he becomes under the care of this billionaire simply because of an accident that happened, and because of insurance scares and scandal scares and rich people the way they are. So he took chance in, and as probably a little boy or something. I don't know. They don't really go into how he got there, and he I guess must have been very badly injured to his head or something, and so there was very limited amount of knowledge being, he didn't have very good schooling or anything like that. So everything for him he learned by watching TV. And in 1979, well, that was like everyone had a TV. TVs were in every single bedroom, every single house had TVs everywhere. Like that was as much as we have smartphones today. That's how we had back in 79. TVs were the thing. And then when they invented remote controls and you didn't have to physically get up and go and change a channel, that was like, woo, that was the big thing too. So Chance has a TV. He wakes up to a TV. He learns everything from a TV, and it just so happens everything that is happening in his life, if he ever is at an odds what to do, or at that moment, all of a sudden something will be on the TV that he's watching at that time, and it will be helping him out to fill in whatever it is. And it's very comical, it's very funny, and all throughout this, you have to realize he has never experienced anything outside of this house that he was living in for most of his life. And so all of a sudden, at the beginning of the show, the maid, Louise, tells him the old man is dead. The old man is dead. Chance, the old man is dead. And he's not really connecting too much with that. And Louise doesn't think he's understanding. And he gets a little bit emotionally upset. So you see that he has a real deep emotional depth to him, the character that he is, but he doesn't say very much. And it's funny, he did learn how to do gardening from the gardener, and he did learn how to do some work in the garage from the chauffeur, although he'd never driven a car, never been in a car. So everything was very limited for him. But all throughout the show, everything that happens to him, it's like he is so lucky, completely lucky. So, for instance, he is told that the old man is dead. Nothing is written in a will for him. Nothing is given to him. It's in some ways it's kind of heartless how this billionaire had him living there just to protect himself from scandal and everything else, and kept him living there. But he never provided in any way for him, and never provided in any way for him to have an identification or anything like that really is important for the rest of his life. So he's walking around thinking, well, I'll just wait for Louise to bring me my lunch. Well, Louise is gone, and she's trying to explain to him, that's it, we're going to have to leave, and he's not at all figuring that out. So these two lawyers come in, inspecting the house, and realize that he's still there. So they assume, because of the way he's dressed, because he's always dressed very properly, he looks like a gentleman's gentleman. He's in, three-piece suit, and, with he's got the suit and the hat and the umbrella and the briefcase. You think he looks like a billionaire himself, because the billionaire old man gave him his clothes that was in the attic. So anyway, these two lawyers come in and assume right away that he is after the estate. And they assume right away in their questioning and looking at him that he must be someone that is wanting something from the money from the estate. And he just tells them and answers all their questions very honestly. Who are you? Well, I'm Chance. And what do you do? I'm the gardener. And so then they call him Mr. Chance. And they connect later that he must be Chance Gardner as the movie goes on. But anyway, so suspicion there right away. And they tell him, you're going to have to leave. You're not allowed in here after tomorrow. And so he doesn't get worried about this. He doesn't get upset about this. He just carries on. He packs up a suitcase that he gets from the attic. And the next day he's walking around in the streets of Washington in 1979, knocking on doors, looking for a place to live. And it's quite you're kind of nervous for him, thinking, okay, what's going to happen to this poor guy? And then he runs into this group of young people, and of course they're in a gang and on the street, and he says, I'm looking at, the old man has died, and I'm looking for a garden to work in. And they think that it's a metaphor for him talking about his boss or the gang leader's boss, and he gets all, yeah, right, the old man's died, yeah, you tell him, blah, blah, blah. And so he takes everything that they're saying very literal, and he goes, I'll remember to talk to Raphael, because he says, give a message to Raphael, and it's not very nice, and you don't find out about that until later in the show, that he's remembered word for word what this guy has said to him. And so there's always this comic thing going on throughout the entire show, and Peter Sellers is just perfect as an actor in this. And so he goes through stumbling along, and they pull a knife on him, and he takes out his remote control because he thinks that's his only protection. And they're laughing and realize that this guy is not a threat, and they send him away. And so he keeps on walking down the street, and he comes up to a TV store. And at that time, back in 79, advertising TVs that would record, and that you could, it was the latest thing to have the VHS, and that you could record your movies and things like that. That was just new back then. And so a TV was facing the window, and he was watching the TV, and he was backing up and backing up and backing up with his remote control. And wouldn't you know, as he's backing up, trying to control the TV, it's not registering that he can't control it with his remote control. But anyway, he's trying to do that, and wouldn't you know it, a great big limousine backs in on his leg, and he's knocked over, and right away the chauffeur jumps out, and the woman in the car jumps out, and, oh, we're so sorry, are you injured, and everything else. And they're looking at him like he is a very wealthy, well-to-do businessman, or a wealthy, well-to-do man. And they're right away thinking, oh, we must avoid a lawsuit. We must avoid an insurance settlement that is quite huge, a scandal, blah, blah. And they're like, we must help this man. And so they get him into can we drive you somewhere? Can we help you? We should take you to the hospital and help you out. So they get him in the limousine, and he's right away, I've never been in a car before. Oh, that's all right. You'll like this. You'll find this very safe. Not at all cluing that that's exactly the truth. He's never been in a car before. And so he gets in the limousine, and there's Shirley MacLaine, who is the wife of another billionaire. And she's, of course, trying to avoid a scandal and a lawsuit and everything else, because that's what they're thinking. And she's questioning him, what is your name? And he goes, my name is Chance. And what do you do? I'm a gardener. And she goes, oh, Chauncey Gardner. And so that becomes his name now, Chauncey Gardner. He doesn't correct her. And he's trying to use his remote control. He goes, oh, do you have TV in the car? And he's quite just watching the TV in the car, watching the TV and talking to her as he's watching the TV very cryptically. And she's thinking he's just very emotionally reserved and thinking that that's the way he is. Saying very little, being very polite. And so it goes on like this. So then she goes, well, rather than go to the hospital, could I convince you to come and stay with us for a few days until your leg is healed? We have a doctor there. My husband is under care with the doctor right now, and we have plenty of room. And so this is how he ends up going to another billionaire's house. And it's quite comical how this all turns out. And again, because everything is by chance. And when you think about it, it's like being there, right? So so he goes in, goes along with this whole thing. They set him up in a room. They have a wheelchair that they put him in and take him, the servants and the chauffeurs and everything are bringing him through. There's an elevator in this house. And every time he's with I think it's, I'm not sure if he's a chauffeur or if he's what type of servant he is, but anyway, he was taking Chance all through to his room and everything in this wheelchair, and he gets in the elevator and he goes, this is a very small room, and I've never been in a room like this. It's just because he's never been in an elevator before, so everything is very funny. But everything happens for him. It all just turns out for good for him. And he's not really having to say very much, but everyone's taking it in the way that they are assuming that he is. And a lot of times in life, don't you find that today everyone assumes things from the way that their perspective is looking at someone? And that may not at all be the truth. And so in a lot of ways, I feel it's kind of the way I have been in my journey and what I'm doing right now and everything else that I've been wanting to do and wanting to help people with in my life and doing these videos. I'm kind of stepping on different things that I see people need to pay attention to. And I get very misunderstood. But it's usually because of how people are assuming from their perspective of who I must be. And so throughout this whole thing, believe it or not, Chance actually ends up meeting this billionaire who is bedridden, who is married to the young woman, a woman about 30 years younger than him, and who is Eve in this movie. That is Shirley MacLaine. And it's Yeah, it's very interesting how all this is set up and how nervous everyone is about this strange man dressed in a suit, and they're looking at him and criticizing him and wondering what is his angle, what does he want? He must be wanting something, and so, and, and all he's just wanting is just to live and to work in a garden, really. And so he meets actually the president, because the president is actually very good friends of this other billionaire, who is Mr. Rand, and he is, I believe, uh, some financial. He's on a board or something with the president, or I'm not sure what his status is, but anyway, regular meetings with the president, and it's astounding. I'll read to you what the conversation was, and it's quite interesting. The conversation that that Chance has with the president in the library, and he takes everything that he says word for word, and thinks that it's some kind of financial and political advice. And so anyway, he says, so this is the president, Mr. Gardner. Do you agree with Ben, or do you think we can stimulate growth with temporary incentives? And then there's a really long pause by Chance. And he says, as long as the roots are not severed, all is well, and all will be well in the garden. And the president goes, in the garden? Yes. In the garden, growth has its season. First comes spring and summer, but then we have fall and winter. And then we get spring and summer again. Spring and summer? Yes. Fall and winter? Yes. And so he takes everything that he's saying, which is really just gardening advice, and he thinks it's a for talking about the financial situation of the government. And so he uses these very words. The president uses these words in a speech, and he goes, as long as the roots of industry are firmly planted in the soil, the economic prospects are undoubtedly sunny. So it's quite funny how Chance becomes Chauncey Gardner, becomes this guy that everyone's worried about, and it ends up the president is like, I must get the FBI, I must get everyone look at his records. Who is this Chauncey Gardner? And they have like 17 different countries looking at him. They think he speaks 8 languages, which he doesn't. It all builds up and everything. And anyway, towards the end, and this is the very funny or the oddest part in the very end, and you really wonder about that, why they waited so long to show this in the very end. So and in the end, Mr. Rand passes away, and they're all at the funeral, they're all at the burial, and has some Freemason symbolism in this movie, because you see the pyramid crypt, and with the eye in the pyramid crypt, and you see they're all carrying the casket there, and all of a sudden Chance decides he's going to go for a walk in the forest away from the funeral, and he's walking along, and he sees a branch on the ground, and he picks up the branch, and tries to help out, you know, free it from being bent over, and then he sees a lake right there, and he decides to walk into the water of this lake, and he's walking on top of the water. And this is the weirdest part. At the very end, they have this at the very end, and he takes his umbrella and he goes down like this to show that he's walking on top of the water, and there goes his umbrella down. So it's like Jesus walking on the water. So it kind of makes you have that at the end of the movie. You're like, okay, did God make a mistake and send Jesus down as this person, and he doesn't quite know what his mission is? Or it kind of makes you wonder. And so anyway, so I think that Chance will probably do very well, or Chance probably did very well after that. But it's kind of interesting that that's what was channeled to me in meditation when I asked, who am I? And I didn't want to reveal that to everyone until now, because I think people would have misunderstood. As everyone doesn't understand me as it is, as no one really does. They're all assuming the worst of me, or wanting the worst for me. A lot of people are not. There are some that are wanting good for me, but yeah. And so anyway, Chance, who becomes Chauncey Gardner, but he's really Chance. And you can call me Chance, because I'm being here right now. I'm being here just saying things that I have to say, or I feel I should say, to get people to wake up, to get people to open their eyes about different things that are going on that we're not seeming to figure out. Just getting people to wake up to another way of looking at things. And that's me. And everyone seems to wonder, how come I'm still going? How come I'm still operating, still managing? Well, because I'm just like Chance. You can't get me down. I'm still here. So anyway, be here, be now. That's what I'm doing, being here. And you can call me Chance. Ta-da.